Hey guys, Kilix here, multi-rank 1 Holy Paladin, Mythic Plus grinder, and longtime WoW vet and top collector. Today, I'm going to break down the core toolkit and key abilities every Holy Paladin needs to master for Mythic Plus in the Season 2 of the War Within. Now, keep in mind, this is not a fully in-depth top-tier guide. This is more aimed at understanding the basics of our abilities and for newer Paladins out there. I'm going to go over every single one of our abilities and how to understand how to actually use them at their most basic form. Whether you need to spec or just want to clean up your fundamentals, this guide's for you, okay? Before we jump into the abilities, let's talk a little bit about our strengths this season. Holy Paladin is still one of the tankiest and most aggressive healers in the game. We bring Devotion Aura, Blessing Utility, and we have Plate Armor. So we are very, very tanky in a lot of situations if played properly. We have strong on-demand burst healing through melee and instant cast, and we also shine in coordinated pulls, healing through rot damage and covering most interrupts when needed, right? A lot of other healers in the current meta do not have kicks. Paladins do. Now, let's start with the healing core, right? We're going to break down our most iconic ability, which is Holy Shock. This is your number 1, sometimes number 2 priority. It's a very low cooldown, instant cast, crits very often, and generates Holy Power. You always want to use at least one charge, okay? So you always want to have this on cooldown, pretty much the entire key as much as possible. Now, if you get a Blessing of Ange proc, your Holy Shock becomes number 1 priority, whether it's doing damage or healing. Anytime you get a Blessing of Ange proc, Holy Shock becomes your number 1 pressed priority, okay? Over Judgment, over Consecrate, over everything. We're going to talk a little bit about our other heals, Flash of Light. You almost never use this in the current meta unless something is very, very low health and they're about to die and you don't have Holy Shock or Wog or Prism or Divine Toll or literally any form of heal, lay on hands. You almost never press this button. Our second button is going to be Holy Light. Now, you can use this in certain situations where you want to pre-heal a ramp. So what I mean by this, you'll have a Holy Prism used already with Divine Favor, and this is going to make your Holy Light heal a little bit more. And what you can do is, if you know a certain AoE mechanic is coming up, or a certain rot damage or a certain one-shot mechanic is coming up, you can pre-heal right before it happens if you time it properly, and then you have an instant Holy Light on one target, which is going to heal both of your beacons, and then you can instantly Wog right out as well, right? So you're almost never pressing Holy Light unless it's with a Divine Favor proc and you're pre-healing a certain mechanic. You'll see me do this a lot when there are certain bosses where I will pre-ramp heal for certain rot mechanics, okay? Because I need the most amount of healing, right? So at the moment, Dark Flame Cleft, the Candle boss, the third boss, is probably the hardest boss in the game, I would say. So this boss right here, where is it? The Candle King. Arguably, this is the hardest boss in the game at the moment in dungeons. So a lot of the times what you'll see, about 1 second before the circle mechanic goes off, I will precast a Holy Light into a target to instantly heal them as the absorb goes out, okay? To help a little bit with healing. Now, Word of Glory, Eternal Flame, should be used pretty much anytime you need any form of healing on anyone. You're a lot of the time in keys, if you watch me play, and you'll see I play extremely offensive, and I maximize healing when it's needed, but my playstyle, I maximize DPS in my keys, okay? So I almost never heal unless I need to heal, right? So I'm always doing the most amount of damage possible in the entire key, which is going to be pressing down Consecrate, keeping down Consecrate 24/7. Consecrate, you want to keep down the entire key, unless you're like obviously dealing with a lot of healing. You don't want to prioritize pressing Consecrate if you have to heal at the time, right? Because this is not gonna heal, right? This is just gonna do damage. So Consecrate, general rule of thumb, keep it down the entire key, every single pull, aside from single target. Ideally, you want to prioritize your other buttons over pressing down Consecrate single target, okay? Judgment, you almost want to press this on cooldown the entire key. This is one of the abilities where you want to have on cooldown literally the entire key, okay? It's going to automatically put down a Consecrate, and it's going to do damage, and it's going to give you a Holy Power, okay? Often, sometimes, it is better to prioritize casting a Judgment if the pull is big enough over a Shield of Righteousness, okay, if it comes up, because it automatically puts down a Consecrate and it's going to make you do more DPS over missing that global or 1 second, right? So it really depends on the health of the pool and how many mobs and what's going on in the pool, okay? Now, your Light of Dawn, just take this off your bars. You will never press this button. Your Blessings, you're going to use this on yourself pretty much the entire key, every single pull. The only time you're ever going to blessing somebody else is if you're doing a pull where only your tank is taking damage, you will Blessing of Spring them. That's it, okay? Your Summer, you're going to always use it on yourself unless you're doing like a Candle King fight and you want to summer your DPS to help heal. But even then, I use it on myself to help maximize our damage, right? Because the faster the boss dies, the less healing I have to do, and the less dangerous it is, okay? Your Autumn is situational. Now, I would advise using Autumn on yourself only, which is the CDR one. So it's going to give you 30% cooldown reduction. I would honestly advise using that on yourself over anyone, just to help you heal more, help you get faster cooldowns out, help your party live. Because if you're doing lower keys, the only important thing as a Holy Paladin is to just keep your party alive. Your damage is not too relevant unless you're doing the highest keys, right? So if you're doing like 19s, 20s, 21s, 18s at the moment, your damage starts to matter, right? So that's when you start to autumn DPS, like fire mages, arcane mages, frost mages. You never want to autumn a class that syncs up cooldowns with their trinkets, right? So like hunters will do that, boomies will do that, stuff like that. Your let's see, we talked about WOG. Your Crusader Strike is going to be your filler ability, right? You don't really have to prioritize pressing this button unless you want to generate holy power at the time. This is not going to be prioritized over Holy Shock, Judgment, Consecrate, Prism, right? This is going to be just used as a filler button to help you generate holy power, okay? Your Holy Prism, you're going to use this on 99% of the key. You're going to use this on a party member, often the tank, okay? And that's because it's going to do damage to mobs around him, and it's going to maximize your DPS more, and it's going to heal your tank for a chunky amount, right? Now, if you're doing a fight where you have to heal your party, you can use this on anyone in your party, right? Often, a lot of the times, if it's a single target pull, what I'll do is I'll use this on the boss, not the party, okay? Because it's going to do more damage to the boss. It's one target anyways. If it's 2 targets, generally I use it on a party member. If it's 1 target, I'll use it on the mob itself. It's going to heal everyone around, and then it's going to do more single target damage if you use it on the boss, okay? So a lot of the times, the way you'll watch me heal in a lot of these pulls, so for example, on the first boss in Motherlode, essentially the only mechanic you're healing on this fight is Static Pulse, right? So every time Static Pulse happens, you're pressing Divine Protection, and all you're really doing is Divine Tolling the boss, getting insurance procs on every single person in your party, and then Holy Prisming the boss to heal your party. And then if you need to heal other people, you'll WOG them, right? And then spam judgments. Now your judgment is going to do a small heal on your party as well, with Truths Prevails, right? So you're kind of passively healing. The only time you're essentially healing in keys is if you know that person's about to die, or you need to keep them topped off the entire pool, right? So certain pools, that you might need to keep everyone topped off is Rookery, for example. In the first boss area, generally every single pull in this area, you need to maximize your healing and keep every single person full health every single pull, right? Because they can randomly die due to certain mechanics, cast going off, or AoE mechanics, or single target rot damage mechanics on them, right? But for example, like the first pull, you don't really have to keep your party topped off the entire time. You can just sit there and do damage the entire key, put down Consecrate, put down Judgments, and the only time you really have to heal is if you're pulling the Void Rider and when it does AoE, right? Or if casts are constantly going off, you want to obviously either kick the mob, stun it, blind it, or heal your party members, right? So you're really maximizing your DPS and only healing when it's necessary as this class, right? Now, Holy Prism, your Hammer of Wrath is generally used as a filler as well. If you have nothing else to press, you're going to prioritize this over Crusader Strike because it's going to do more damage and it's also going to generate 1 Holy Power. You're never going to prioritize it over pretty much any other button, really, honestly. Right? So you're kind of just pressing this as a filler. Your Tears Deliverance, you're almost never pressing this button. The only reason you're playing Tears Deliverance is to unlock Relentless Inquisitor, and this is going to give you more throughput, more damage throughout the key because it's going to give you a lot more haste throughout the key, right? So it's going to be technically it's going to be more healing than Glorious Dawn, and it's going to be more damage throughout the key. A lot of times you can use this button pre-pulls. So as you're running into a big pull, you can sit there and precast this before you go into that pull, right? To help mitigate damage, not mitigate damage, but to help heal damage a little more, right? Your Infusion of Light procs, you don't really need to keep track of this at all. Yeah, I would not worry, not this patch anyways. Next patch, you're going to want to keep track of this ability because it's getting drastically changed. But as of this patch right now, it doesn't really matter whether or not you have Infusion of Light procs up. You just do your rotation the way you do it anyways. This is not going to dictate how you heal or how you do damage. Your kick, obviously, you want to kick a cast anytime you can, right? Your cleanse, you kind of want to prioritize cleansing any sort of mechanic that you can cleanse. Because you're running a just reward every single key, that's also going to be a chunky heal on the target that you're cleansing. So almost always prioritize cleansing unless you don't need to cleanse. Like it's often better to use a global for more damage or on a target if you don't have to cleanse at the time, right? So for example, on what boss could we use for example here? So like Senior Brew Meadery, on the first pull, you want to cleanse instantly as soon as possible, right? Because you want to get rid of that circle and you want to mitigate damage. But in Theater of Pain, when you're doing not Theater of Pain, we'll do actually what dungeon even has a cleanse, to be honest. There's not that many dungeons that have cleanses this season. I really just cleanse on cooldown, to be honest. Give you a little chunky heal and then that's it. Your taunt, you're almost never taunting anything. Sometimes in Priory, you'll taunt those light spawn mobs at 27% health to help get them out of the stack of mobs. Because at 25% health, they start casting a circle that's going to heal every mob inside it. So you can use this. You can run out of range and taunt the light spawn out. And by the time it gets to you, it'll proc the circle heal and then no mobs will be in it, right? But this is like more advanced stuff. You don't really have to do this. Just make sure your tank knows that you're doing it if you're going to do it, right? Your beacons, you essentially on certain trash pulls, you're keeping one beacon on either Boomy or Mage or any sort of range class in your comp, like Hunter, Boomy, Mage. One beacon on them 24/7, probably the entire key to be completely honest. And then your second beacon is either going to be on the tank if it's a lot of tank damage in that pool, or either on yourself to help mitigate damage on yourself, or another target other than the tank. So what I mean by this, in Rookery, this is arguably one of the hardest areas to heal in a key So in this area specifically, I keep my beacon on myself and our boomy, right? Because I take the most constant damage out of anything. The tank is not going to die in these pulls, right? A lot of the times, if I get the rot debuff on myself 2 to 3 times in a row, if I don't have cooldowns, it'll just two-shot me in the keys that I'm doing, right? So on the left side, you can kind of keep the beacon on the tank to help heal him through the rot damage or whatever damage he's taking. But on the right side, when it's like more AoEs and more channels, targeted dots, I generally keep this beacon, one beacon on myself and one beacon on the boomy, and wog or prism the tank every now and then. The other thing you can keep in mind is your mastery, right? So you essentially like the last rookery is actually a very good example of a key, because the last boss you're gonna be spread out so much that you want to keep one beacon on the tank and one beacon on the boomy or the mage or the hunter, right? As long as they are far away from you. And generally the tank is very far from you and the boomy or the hunter is very far from you as well, right? Your wings, you're almost using this on cooldown 24/7 the entire key. Just help maximize damage, help maximize healing, help maximize everything. The only time you're ever holding wings is if you know a certain mechanic is coming up, right? That you need to drastically heal through. We're going to go back to Rookery because Rookery is actually such a good key to use examples on. Rookery on the pull on the right side, which is generally the third pull of the dungeon, because what you'll normally do is you'll pull this area first, and then you'll go left, pull this, and then you'll go right and pull this, right? Sometimes you go right on the second pull. This is arguably the hardest pull to heal in Trash, in Keys right now. On this pull, you would hold wings until the Void Rider casts the AoE, alright? So when the Void Rider casts the AoE, what's going to be happening is you're going to constantly take AoE damage, and at the same time, people are going to get single target channel dots on them. So this is when you need wings, right? So you would wings this, and you would just heal through it. Your Divine Toll is going to be used either on the mob. Generally speaking, if there's a lot of mobs, you're going to use it on the mobs to do more damage. Or if you require party healing, you're going to use it on your party. Okay? So, for example, on Motherload First Boss, you're gonna use this on the boss every time he does Static Pulse to help heal your party and do damage on the boss at the same time, right? Or, if you're looking at Workshop, on the double mechanic pull after the Spark Flux boss here, when you do these two spiders together, you're going to use your Divine Toll on your party, right? But here, when you're doing the solo tank, you're going to use Divine Toll on the tank itself, because that's going to do more damage on the mob, and it's also going to heal everybody in your party that needs healing, enough to get you through the pool, right? Your Divine Protection, you want to press this button as much as you can. It's a very short cooldown, 42-second cooldown, and it can often cover almost every single sort of AoE mechanic on an encounter, right? So anytime you're taking a one-shot mechanic or any sort of AoE damage, just press this button, and it's going to help mitigate damage. Your Hand of Freedom, this can be used in niche situations. In Priory, whenever you're fighting sharpshooters, you can freedom yourself and horse around and eat traps, and you're going to be immune to traps, and you're going to get rid of the clutter on the ground, and you're going to help your party mitigate damage, or you're going to help people from accidentally stepping into traps and taking a lot of damage, right? Because during those sharpshooter pools, you don't want to eat those traps because they do a ton of damage, right? Divine Seed, obviously use it whenever you need movement speed. Hodge, use it whenever you need to stop a target or you need to prolong a cast. So I often use this after a kick rotation. So usually the first cast, you kick it, and then after that, I'll Hodge one to prolong its cast time, and then we'll use some form of stops, and then usually kicks are back up again. Blind can be used as a stop as well. Right as a mob is about to get a cast off, you just blind them and it'll interrupt them. Your auras, generally speaking, you're keeping up Devotion Aura the entire key. You're almost never changing this. You can swap to Crusader Aura if you're like mounted up and you're running around, because it is gonna speed up your party's movement speed, so it's gonna help with the timer of the key. Concentration Aura is used on one specific pull and one key. It is only used on Priory during the night pulls. So if your party is pulling these knights cast a AoE interrupt shout ability that does a ton of damage, like every 30 seconds or something like that. If you swap the concentration aura and you aura mastery, it completely negates all of the damage of the shout. Okay, so generally speaking, if you're pulling a knight in Priory, you want to have concentration aura up for the first shout and then aura mastery, and your party will take 0 damage. And often the knight will die before the second or third shout. Okay. But other than that, just keep up Diva Aura. Aura Mastery, you're going to use it with Diva Aura 99, pretty much every single key to help mitigate any sort of AoE damage, any sort of one-shot damage, or just any time you need any sort of mitigation. Your Hand of Sack, use this on your tank if he needs it. Generally speaking, you don't really want to press this on the tank because you're going to take a ton of damage unless he needs it, okay? And this is going to mesh well with Echoing Blessing, which is going to make your sack 15% stronger, and it's going to help mitigate more damage, right? You can use this on your party members if you know they're going to be weak during a certain AoE mechanic or rot damage or whatever. Your Bubble, if you're in trouble, if you want to mitigate any form of like damage or dot damage or something, press this. Your Bop, you can obviously press this to help mitigate damage. Like if somebody accidentally steps into a trap in Priory, you can bop them. It'll bop it off. If you're pulling a knight in Priory, you can bop off the impales, stuff like that. Your Lay on Hands again, this could be used as a random spot pick-me-up heal. Now, you're also playing Empyrean Ward in almost all of these keys. So if your tank is in trouble, it's very good to use this on the tank because it's going to help him mitigate a ton of damage with that extra armor he gets for 8 seconds, right? Shield of Righteousness, you're going to use this pretty much on cooldown anytime you have 3 Holy Power, right? You're always going to be mashing this button 24/7 the entire key. Single target, 2 mobs, 3 mobs, 5 mobs, 10 mobs, right? You're going to press this the entire key anytime you don't need, your party does not need healing, right? So general prioritization is Judgment as you're running in, Consecrate, spam Holy Shocks, spam Crusader Strike, keep your Prism on cooldown, keep your Divine Toll on cooldown unless you know damage is coming up and you need to save your Divine Toll for your party. That's when you save it. But other than that, you're just kind of pressing all of your abilities non-stop on cooldown, right? To help maximize your damage. Don't overcap your Holy Power. Remember, always spend it, right? The only time you're really ever capping on 5 Holy Power is if your Judgment is up and it's a very, very big pull. Sometimes even if you have 5 Holy Power, it's better to press Judgment instead of pressing Shield of Righteousness because it's going to put down that Consecrate, right? Remember, always rotate your CD smartly. Don't panic. Use sack and bop before things go wrong, not after they go wrong, right? Use sack and bop to help prevent things from going wrong, right? Use your Aura Mastery to boost your Diva Aura on group damage, and always position well. I understand that being a melee healer, you can sometimes tunnel in melee and miss mechanics, but always be aware of what's going on around your character and adjust your position properly, right? Remember, your beacon is crucial in these keys. It stays on the tank almost every single pull. That means that all your Eternal Flames, all your Flash of Lights or Holy Lights that you cast are duplicated on the beacon target, okay? I'm going to have the basic import of our current key spec down in the bio, and you can also check out my other guides on my YouTube channel for breakdown on the talent builds or certain dungeons. That's it for the basic ability guide, guys. If you like stuff like this, don't forget to watch my channel. If this helped out, hit like and subscribe and catch me on Twitch. If you want to ask questions or watch top level Mythic Plus healing in real time, go to my Twitch and don't be afraid to ask for any sort of questions, alright? Have a good one.